Good morning, everyone. Mortgage rates are at their highest since 2002. Those skyrocketing rates are helping cool some of the country's hottest housing markets. Daniel Bacchus reports.
Inflation, soaring mortgage rates, and record high prices are making it extremely hard for many Americans to buy a home.
It is very expensive.
Housing affordability is down 29% from a year ago. Consistent Fed rate hikes are also putting pressure on the real estate market.
We have seen mortgage rates double in just this year. And in some markets, we are starting to see prices go down from those sky-high levels.
Nationwide, home prices soared 43% in 2 years. But now in cities that had those massive spikes, prices are being slashed. The fastest cooling markets are Seattle, Las Vegas, San Jose, San Diego, Sacramento, and Denver. Holding strong are Chicago, Albany, and Milwaukee.
A year ago, people were buying homes sight unseen, multiple offers. It's a good time to put an offer on a house at a lower number.
LA realtor Craig Strong says buyers and sellers need to adapt to the changing market, especially during fall's traditional home sales slowdown.
It's just a changing market. 2008, that was a crash landing. I feel it's going to be a softer landing. It's going to be over a period of time as people get adjusted to the new rates and the new purchase price.
Experts say despite the price cuts, the average monthly mortgage payment is still higher than if you bought a home at the peak of the market. But if the rate drops, you can always refinance to ease the pain. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Burbank, California.
Millions of Americans now suffering from hearing loss can get a hearing aid online or in stores. A new FDA rule allowing the devices to be sold without a prescription went into effect this week. Mandy Gaither has more on what experts say you need to keep in mind if you're buying a hearing aid over the counter.
It's a long-awaited rule change now in effect. For the first time, people with mild to moderate hearing loss can get devices to help directly from a store or online, making them more affordable.
The average cost of a pair of hearing aids in the past was about $4,500. I mean, so put that in perspective, that means for the average American, a pair of hearing aids could be your third largest material purchase like after a house and a car.
Now you don't have to visit a hearing health professional and don't have to have a custom fitting, bringing down the cost. But health experts say there are some things to keep in mind. First, get your hearing tested before heading to a store. That will let you know your hearing levels and help determine whether your hearing loss is caused by a condition that may not require a hearing aid like wax buildup. Next, know what you're buying. Experts say a return policy is crucial. The FDA rule says the policy has to be plainly stated on the packaging, but extended return policies are up to the stores. Check the product's warranty, whether it covers maintenance and repairs, and look for the words OTC or over-the-counter hearing aid on the package. If the product doesn't say that, it's not an FDA-regulated device.
By the market opening up now, there's a lot of opportunity for companies to meet consumers where they are rather than where we want them to be, which is what the model previously dictated.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Experts urge anyone with questions to get in touch, of course, with an audiologist for guidance. While over-the-counter hearing aids are a great option for those with mild to moderate hearing loss, for others with more severe hearing loss, prescription hearing aids are still the only option. And people under the age of 18 will also need a prescription. All right, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Patients are sharing their stories to educate women about the disease and the importance of early detection. Naomi Ruckham introduces us to a woman being treated for triple-negative breast cancer, which is more common in Black women.
Renee Williams gets mammograms and does self-exams with her family history of breast cancer. Earlier this year, the 52-year-old felt a lump.
My mom passed away from breast cancer when I was 5 years old. I always had a feeling that either me or my sisters, one of us would end up with it, and it ended up being me.
Renee was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. The aggressive cancer is more common in women under 40 who are Black or who have a BRCA1 mutation. The cancers are more likely to come back after treatment and have a poorer outlook than other breast cancers.
Triple negative breast cancer is a very scary diagnosis, but it does sound like there's hope.
Yes, absolutely. So
Dr. Sylvia Adams with NYU Langone Health says adding immunotherapy to the standard chemotherapy is a major advance in treatment for patients, including Renee.
we actually had a very early good clinical response and were able to take her to surgery earlier. And she had no residual cancer at time of surgery, which predicts an excellent outcome and cure.
For patients with early disease, clinical trials are underway to better tailor treatments.
Make sure that patients have less side effects from the chemotherapy. Maybe we can do less chemotherapy in some patients.
I don't care what diagnosis you get. That doesn't mean it's a death sentence.
Renee wants women to know early detection is critical.
Sometimes you won't feel it. Go and get your mammograms.
The mother and grandmother is starting radiation. She's back at work as an oncology clerk and grateful to help others going through what she has. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
The American Cancer Society estimates nearly 288,000 new breast cancer cases will be diagnosed in women this year. Triple-negative breast cancer accounts for 10 to 15% of all breast cancers. All right, stay with us. Dr. Keith Watson is here with us mid-morning. We'll be right back. Welcome back. When the dancers of the Kiev City Ballet went on tour 8 months ago, little did they know they would be stranded abroad by war. Now the ballet company is in limbo, determined to save their culture through dance. Aundrea-10 has their story.
Under the rumble of the L train at Chicago's Auditorium Theater, these dancers have more than choreography on their minds.
All my family are in Kiev now. My mother, father, sister.
I imagine you've been worried about them.
Yes, I've been very scared.
Sasha Moroz and Marina Apanasenko, both 19, dance with the Kiev City Ballet. Most of their families are still in Ukraine.
I'm lucky to hear the voice of my mother, to see them only by phone, but I hope everything will be okay.
The dance company left Ukraine in February to perform in Paris. Company director Ivan Kozlov says they were only supposed to be gone 3 weeks before this happened.
We woke up and realized that our country is under attack.
Literally the day after you left
Yes.
Kyiv. To keep them safe, Paris granted the dancers a long-term residency, and they're still traveling on their first ever U.S. tour.
It is a difficult period for all of Ukrainians, but when you understand the main aim to represent your country, and you become more strong.
You feel stronger in your dance.
I feel stronger when I dance, to show the world our light, our energy.
You were able to get out of the country just in time, but is there any guilt that you might feel, or you know your dancers feel, not being home fighting at this time?
It's not a guilt. We feel sorry that we cannot be in the two places at the same time, you know. We are doing our best from the field of war, from the stages, you know. We represent our country. We're trying to show how brave we are, how strong we are.
Their U.S. tour features the classic Swan Lake and a new work choreographed after the war started, called Tribute to Peace.
It's our place to fight, because our task is to save Ukrainian culture, because culture is the country, and Ukraine has a great history, and our task is to save it.
Aundrea-10, CBS News.
In a world where robots are taking over many jobs, including welcoming you to a hotel, a competition in Switzerland wants to make sure the industry keeps its human touch. Ian Lee has that story.
If first impressions are everything, then clearly a hotel receptionist sets the bar for your stay. The cream of the crop are going bell to bell at a competition to crown the best.
I felt very nervous in the morning.
Good morning, the Hazel Hotel. David speaking.
Eager receptionists from around the world descend on the set of a fake hotel in Switzerland for the 4-day contest.
Need any assistance with your luggage, sir? Or with your car?
Tim Oberly is a local boy, putting his people skills to the test.
It is very important to be flexible, to be creative, to have the ability to improvise.
Book a table for three. Certainly, sir.
Actors throw everything at competitors, from securing tables at top restaurants or a wake-up call to a difficult or even an injured guest.
So the taxi already wait outside in the gateway. Please have the way to here.
All the while, a team of judges and spectators scrutinize their every move. But organizers say a successful check-in can unlock the world.
So I was a competitor back in the 1980s, and it very much opens doors and opportunities for these young people.
If all the information are correct.
Tim came in second, but for him, it's all about loving what you do.
It's way more than just this medal. It's about being an ambassador for my profession.
And everyone's a winner, just as long as they make sure guests enjoy their stay.
Anything else I can assist you with?
Ian Lee, CBS News.
Please do not hesitate to reach out.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. There's a new book about Samuel Adams by Pulitzer Prize winner Stacy Schiff. Perhaps no member of the American Revolution is less understood than a man who Jefferson called the leader of it. Part of that is because Samuel Adams didn't want to be remembered. Jeff Glor tells his story.
I mean, what brought me to this book in large part was how little we knew about him. We all recognize the name. We know so little about him.
First things first, please try not to call him Sam.
His enemies later refer to him as Sam Adams in a somewhat derogatory way. So when he's written off by 19th century historians, he tends to become that incendiary Sam Adams. So it's a little bit of a term of disrespect, I think.
Sam was first used as a brush-off. Later in our times, a beer.
Hey, buddy, you want a Sam Adams?
In fact, Samuel Adams' legacy is far more consequential than the portrait on the front of a bottle.
Jefferson said he was the most important part of the revolution. Did I get that right?
You did. He says he's basically, if there had been a leader, that man was Samuel Adams. And he calls him the earliest, the most active, and the most persevering patriot.
This was his place.
This was where he was several times the man of the hour, exactly.
Stacy Schiff arrived at Samuel Adams after a career spent documenting fascinating lives. Vladimir Nabokov's wife, Ben Franklin, Cleopatra, and the witches of Salem. Her latest subject seemed like destiny.
You're from Adams, Massachusetts? I mean, come on.
I'm from Adams, Massachusetts. Yes, I am. Which some people, I think was named for John, but was in fact named for Samuel. And that was part of the embarrassment of this book. I had written, there's a cameo of Samuel Adams in my Ben Franklin book. And at one point it occurred to me that I knew embarrassingly little about this person about whom I had written. And that it was even more embarrassing because, in fact, yes, I am from Adams, Massachusetts.
Samuel Adams was born into wealth. But after the British dissolved N Bank his father had established to help lend money to colonists, the family was ruined. For the first 40 years of his life, many considered Samuel Adams a failure, until the man met the moment. Starting with the imposition of the Stamp Act in 1765 to the Boston Massacre, Adams operated behind the scenes to rile up the citizenry, most influentially as a newspaper opinion writer, almost always using assumed names.
Adams was a master manipulator of the news.
I would say master propagandist is probably, the two words that best characterize him. I mean, he does that. You probably see that best after the Boston Massacre. The trials have taken place. The British soldiers who had fired on civilians are tried. All but 2 of them are found to be innocent. And Adams then goes to the press and relitigates the entire case, making everyone seem guilty. And in fact, convincingly so.
That's Sam Adams. Yes, that's Sam Adams. And whatever's happening here tonight, he's the one man who holds the key to the situation.
The Boston Massacre eventually led to the Boston Tea Party, reenacted here in 1953 for the CBS series You Are There.
If we fail here, the whole revolution, all that we've planned for years, will die.
3 ships in the harbor, 3 teams of men. We don't know precisely who they are. They are lightly disguised as Native Americans, some of them better disguised than others.
The destruction of tens of millions of dollars in British goods, puppet mastered by Adams and others, is still recreated every 15 minutes in Boston Harbor today.
But when you're fomenting a revolution, sometimes
you need practice. This is revolution practice,
Yeah.
is what I think we're watching here.
Yeah. That was a good one.
That was a good throw.
Yeah, it was. Wow, another good one. Why was he able to piss people off so magnificently?
I think there's a tenacity there, which may come from the I don't care what people think of me school. He's like a cartoon character, constantly sort of running circles around Crown officials. And I think there's a certain amount of creativity to that. I mean, there is no loophole that he cannot dive through.
Add to that, the British appeared often to rule through a combination of fickleness and inattention.
Is it just the way our American history is written, or were the British really that moronic in how they tried to manage all this? It just seemed like one blunder after another.
The number of missteps, the number of moments at which Adams gains traction because there has been British overreach or British tone deafness is extraordinary. And what's really striking is the level of ignorance in Great Britain, the inability to either take the colonies seriously or to even place them on a map. I mean, most people didn't know if Boston was in the West Indies or the East Indies. I mean, there was just tremendous lack of knowledge of what they were dealing with.
Shifts the Revolutionary gets deeply into details, including Adams' love-hate relationship with John Hancock, whom Adams regarded as far too consumed with clothes and fame. And it gets into what happened after the Revolution, when Adams less successfully served as lieutenant governor and then governor of Massachusetts. Positions of power didn't really suit Samuel Adams, nor did any interest in hagiography.
He didn't really leave his papers. He didn't write an autobiography. It's almost like he didn't care.
John Adams, at several junctures, says to him, could you please collect your papers? No one will be able to understand the revolution without your papers. Those are 2 decades of essential writing. You know, you really need to put them together. Everyone will be interested. And Adams, for whatever reason, never picks up on it. He really leaves the history to others. And we know what happens when you leave the history to others. Other people's versions creep in.
You said he made almost as much trouble for historians as he did for the British.
I think it's really hard to get a sense of him. There's all of this tremendous 18th century testimony to how central and how vital he is. Every founding father basically says he's in the vanguard. And then he's off the radar. And putting him back in the picture requires a certain amount of effort.
Stay with us. We'll be right back to wrap things up. All right, be sure you stay connected with us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll see you back here next time.